Hello, my name is Mike Muszynski. I'm the State and Federal Relations Manager for CCM. This video is intended to provide clarity and additional details regarding the loss of revenue category associated with the American Rescue Plan Act, commonly known as ARPA. The final rule that was released by the Department of Treasury not too long ago makes a significant change in comparison to the previous rule. The prior rule required recipients to use the established Treasury formula, while the final rule allows recipients to choose one of two options when determining their revenue loss. Specifically, now you're able to choose either between the Treasury's formula, which is articulated in the final rule and explained in detail in our ARP toolkit, or you can select a standard allowance of up to $10 million. Now, it's important to note that you're not allowed to appropriate funds in excess of what you've already received. So if you've received $7 million, you're not allowed to exceed that amount up to the $10 million range. Treasury indicated they provided this change for a few reasons, in particular, simplicity. Also, the $10 million standard allowance is an estimate of revenue loss that is based on a Treasury's extensive analysis and average revenue loss that occurred among states and localities throughout the country. And the standard allowance offers a simple and convenient way to determine revenue loss, in particular for those smaller communities. So once your actual revenue loss is determined by the formula, or if you choose to take the standard allowance, now what can you use the funds towards? The funds need to be used to fund any sort of government service. Treasury has indicated that government service is generally any service traditionally provided by your government. Remember, this definition applies to municipal, county, and state government. So while it's rather broad, it is beneficial in the sense that local governments have the ability to appropriate funds accordingly based on your own unique needs. I often am asked to try and better define what is government service, and I've explained it as best as I can in suggesting that when appropriating within this category, if it's a project or service that the local government would traditionally budget for, or your residents expect to be provided by their local government, or you produce it as a local government, it should be eligible. So again, if it's something you would traditionally budget for, or it's expected by your residents, then it should be eligible. And this could be including items that could offset any potential future budget increases. Now, the one caveat being that you can't allocate the funds towards any of the prohibited items, which include you can't appropriate the funds towards pension payments, offset existing debt or settlement agreements, as well as you can't distribute the funds into a reserve account. These services could include eligible uses in other categories, such as efforts towards economic development to assist businesses or social service efforts in partnering with nonprofits. Government services can certainly be used in those advancements as part of an economic development or social service enhancement. Government services can also include capital expenditures. Some towns have already explored purchasing of police cars, fire trucks, other equipment, as well as updating capital investments utilizing their loss of revenue funds. The value of appropriating funds within the loss of revenue category, and specifically selecting the standard allowance, is simply because of the streamlined reporting. If you haven't already, in your next project and expenditure report that's due by April 30th, you'll need to select whether you're going to be assuming the standard allowance or using the formula. And once you choose this, you won't be able to switch in the future. So it's appropriate when you do make that selection that it is appropriate. And so when making appropriations under this category, it's, again, very streamlined reporting. It does appear that you will need to provide a brief summary of what those services include, but in comparison to some of the other categories, it doesn't appear as if it requires that much detail. We've summarized this in our updated toolkit. In fact, there's a screenshot of the reporting portal's webpage that will provide you with the information that you will need. And it doesn't appear, again, that you'll need extensive details regarding these services, and it's certainly less cumbersome than reporting in other categories. As you'll be developing the final control mechanisms to account for all the ARP dollars, you'll need a general tracking of allocations made towards government service. I encourage you to utilize our ARP toolkit. We will also be exploring additional webinars with other organizations and local officials on best practices. Certainly also utilize the resources that Treasury has provided, specifically when it comes to reporting. As an organization, I can only assist in eligible use questions. As we are not a recipient of the funds, we are not a user of the reporting portal, so Treasury has developed the resources and webinars necessary to hopefully help you navigate those. Again, we continue to be a resource for members regarding ARP and other initiatives. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give myself or other public policy staff a call. Thank you.